One Tumor. The tragic end of Rod Stewart. His wife cried a lot. It began as an ordinary morning. Rod Stewart, now in his twilight years, had just finished his cup of Earl Grey and was humming the soft melody of sailing as he looked out onto the garden from his Surrey home. There was a stillness to the day, one of those quiet English mornings when everything feels suspended in time. His wife, Penny, had already gone out to tend to the roses. Theirs was a home filled with laughter, memories, and music. For years, their walls had echoed with stories, of tours, of songs, of children growing up, of the passage of time. But on that day, there was also a shadow. It had been there for months, really, subtle, creeping, unspoken at first. Rod had been feeling tired. More than usual. The notes in his voice had started to waver. His energy, once endless, began to falter. Doctors had run tests. Penny remembered the hospital smell, the clatter of trolleys, the gentle but serious tone of the consultant's voice. One tumor, he had said. Just 2 words. But they had changed everything. It was located in a difficult area, close to vital nerves. It wasn't the first health scare Rod had faced in his life, but this one felt different. There was a hush in the room when the diagnosis was given, as if the world itself had drawn a breath. Penny sat beside him, her hand over his. They didn't say much. There was nothing to say. They had lived a life full of triumphs, challenges, glamour, and grace. But in that moment, it was simply 2 people facing the end of something precious. Rod had always been a fighter. From his early days in Highgate to becoming a global sensation, he had climbed mountains, musically and personally. He had survived the wild rock and roll years, the heartbreaks, the scandals, the reinventions. But this was a different kind of battle. One not fought with microphones or stadiums, but with patience, courage, and love. He didn't want the world to see him as weak. Not because of pride, but because he had always given his fans strength. So he kept it private. Friends were told gently. Family gathered. There were moments of silence, but also of song. His home remained filled with music until the very end. He would sit by the piano and hum. Sometimes Penny would join him. Sometimes he'd just whisper lyrics into the air like prayers. One night, under soft lamplight, he sang a verse of Forever Young to his grandchildren. His voice trembled slightly, but the emotion was clearer than ever. As the weeks passed, the tumor grew. His mobility lessened. He rested more. Penny stayed by his side day and night. They shared stories, laughter, tears, and long, quiet looks that said more than any words. In the final days, Rod was serene. He had made peace with the world. With his fame. With his regrets. With the inevitable. On the morning of his passing, the sky outside was a soft silver gray. Birdsong drifted in from the garden. Penny held his hand as he took his final breath. She did not cry immediately. Not because she didn't feel pain, but because grief sometimes comes quietly. Like a tide that waits until everyone else has gone to bed. Later that evening, as the sun lowered over the Surrey hills, she sat alone in the garden. And then the tears came. Not just for the man she loved, but for the years they had shared. For the music. For the dreams. For the endings they couldn't rewrite. His passing sent ripples through the world. News outlets shared tributes. Fans lit candles, played his records, left flowers outside concert venues. Social media overflowed with memories, from photos with fans backstage to heartfelt thank you notes from those who said his music saved them. Fellow musicians called him a giant. Others called him gentle, generous, the last of a kind. Penny, though, remembered him simply as my Rod. The man who loved football as much as he loved falsettos. Who made Sunday roasts for the family even when he had jet lag. Who wrote silly songs for their dog just to make the children laugh. In the days that followed, she stayed mostly indoors. Not to shut the world out, but to sit with her memories. She found old notes he had scribbled on napkins. Voice memos on his phone of half-finished melodies. And letters, long, rambling, beautiful letters he'd written to her over the years. She cried a lot, yes. But she smiled, too. Because Rod Stewart hadn't just been a singer. He had been a witness to an age. A soundtrack to millions of lives. A reminder that it was okay to be vulnerable, to dream big, to love wildly. The funeral was held quietly. Close family. Some old bandmates. A string quartet played the first cut as the deepest. And as Penny stood by his resting place, she whispered, "You gave it all, my love. You really did." There are stars who burn brightly and fade. And then there are stars like Rod Stewart, who shine even after they've gone. In homes across Britain and beyond, his voice still drifts through radios. His songs still play in kitchens, cars, pubs, and weddings. Somewhere, a couple will dance to Have I Told You Lately. A young singer will try to mimic his gravelly tone. An old friend will raise a glass and say, to Rod. And Penny? She continues to live in their shared home. Surrounded by roses. Surrounded by music. Surrounded by love. Some evenings, she plays his records. She listens not just with her ears, but with her heart. Because even though he's gone, he's everywhere. In the echoes of their laughter. In the softness of her memories. And in every single note he ever sang.